Wonderful. Wow. My name is Larry Luton, and I want to thank you for inviting me to speak about climate change today, inviting me back to the Unitarian Church. I used to be a regular attendee at this church, and I had forgotten until this morning. The first service reminded me of this, that this is such a nice way to spend a Sunday morning. So thank you. Another note, a couple weeks ago I had the flu, and it hangs around in my throat, so if I catch up on occasion or cough, hopefully not into the microphone, I want you to be assured I'm not contagious. I don't have the flu anymore, and I'll get through this. So thank you for that understanding. I also want to thank Richard for his note on resilience, because it fits very well with the theme of my talk today. If you're engaged in climate action, you have to be resilient. If you're engaged in any kind of environmental work, resilience is important, because all it takes is a little bit of a step back, and it's a long time to recover from it. But we have to stay at it. I've been thinking about how the context of the Trump takeover changes what I originally planned to present to you last October. You may not remember that I was invited in October. I didn't make it. I'm sorry about that. Trump takeover highlights the need for hope, and I distinguish that from optimism. Optimism is kind of a probability game in my mind, and I'm not going to say the probabilities are with us, but we keep working as long as we have hope that what we do can make a difference. I think we also keep working because we have an obligation to. I mean, you think about people who are losing their island homes because of climate change. You think about the people of Los Angeles who've lost their homes because of climate change. Just because you and I haven't suffered that yet, maybe you did in the Gray Fire, I don't know. But we can't sit still and let this happen. Even if we fail, we have to try. It also brings to the fore the need for collective action. A lot of people will talk to you about what you can do as an individual, and I'll have a final note on that as well. But for me, collective action is really important in order to get things done. So I want to start with a quote from Katharine Hayhoe. Dr. Hayhoe is a Canadian, a climate scientist. She's now at Texas Tech University. She's also the chief scientist at the Nature Conservancy. And she says, action is our antidote to despair. And while we can't tackle these challenges alone, we can make change happen together. Personally, I have no time for people who are skeptical of climate science. The scientists may not have hit a bullseye on all of their predictions. A lot of that's because they had no idea what we were going to do, how slow we would be to act, how quickly some of the physical changes would take place. But basically, I'm going to say the climate scientists got it right. Let's look at a few major points about that. The scientists predicted temperatures will rise. 2024 was the warmest year on record on the planet. It was the first time we exceeded, for the average for the year, 1.5 degrees centigrade above the pre-industrial level, a target the Paris Climate Accords set for us, trying to keep it under that many years ago. By the way, 2023 was the record before 2024. Temperatures have risen. Sea levels will rise. 2022, sea levels generally around the planet, and it varies depending on where you are, 4 inches higher than 1993. It said the oceans would be warmer. Again, 2024, warmest ever recorded on the ocean. Scientists are really shocked by that development, how high it is and how quickly it has happened. They said we would have more and more severe, more damaging hurricanes. Boy, have we ever. The hurricanes are now 3 times more likely to intensify at a very rapid pace. Last year we had 5 Category 5 hurricanes. That's as high as it gets. They talked about creating a Category 6. Yeah, once it's gotten to 5, you know this is bad. They also have now a tendency to hang over land for a while and dump a lot of rain. You saw maybe what happened in western North Carolina, where I lived before I moved to Spokane. Asheville, North Carolina had been identified as a place that was a climate change haven. Surprise, there is no haven. Wildfires. Between 1980 and 2023, we've had 22 $1 billion wildfires, 18 of them since 2000. We've already mentioned the LA fires. We had fires here a couple years ago. This is serious. So we humans need to take action. At the federal level, Trump makes this a bit of a dubious proposition right now. Fortunately, in Washington state, there are still possibilities for action, both at the state level and at the local level. And today I'm going to focus on what has been happening, what is happening, and what you can do in local Spokane climate action. I was part of the task force, as Richard mentioned, that created our first Sustainability Action Plan in 2009. Mayor Werner, you may recall, pulled together the task force and asked us to create that. It wasn't the best one I've ever seen, but it was a start. It took, the City Council's first response to that was, "Thank you for your work, we'll accept it," which sounded to me like, it's going on the shelf, and we are never going to look at it again. It took 7 or 8 years before the City Council went back and said, we're going to use this as a framework for our action on sustainability. 2018, the City Council said, we need to up our game. We're going to create the Sustainability Action Committee. It will help to guide our work on climate action. Mayor Condon vetoed the bill. The City Council passed the bill again over his veto. And then Mayor Condon said, see if you can make me. I just won't do anything. He never appointed anybody. And the process is mayor nominates, City Council appoints. He just never gave any names. Neither did Mayor Woodward. So it was never implemented. City Council's response was to say, well, let's do a workaround. Let's create the Sustainability Action Subcommittee. It would be a subcommittee of one of their standing committees. It was a brilliant move by Brian Beggs. Sustainability, they also appointed a Sustainability Initiatives Manager. Karen Odegaard is someone this community owes a great debt to. If it weren't for her, we would never have the 2021 Sustainability Action Plan, which is our current plan. She oversaw 40 people, over 40 people, in 7 work groups. This is beyond the normal span of control. This is a lot of work, you know. And so in 2021, we put out the new Sustainability Action Plan. It's much better. It has over 200 actions recommended in it. And the City Council adopted it as a framework for climate change, mitigation, adaptation, and energy security actions for the City of Spokane. In 2022, after we had gotten the plan out, we saw, okay, there are 200 recommendations in here. We need to focus things down a bit. You give 200 ideas to the City Council, they have no idea where to go. So we added a steering committee to the Sustainability Action Subcommittee. I was the chair of that committee. And we went through the plan and with the help of the work groups, identified a series of steps, more like, I was hoping it would be like 6, but it ended up being more like 12, that we were ready to forward to the City Council to get things moving. That work ended up getting kind of replaced by the election of Mayor Lisa Brown, who formed a transition committee, part of which was aimed at what do we do about sustainability and climate. I was part of that group. We recommended 2 things. One was that we need to revisit that Sustainability Action Committee. We now have a mayor who would sign the ordinance. And we renamed it the Climate Resilience and Sustainability Board. It has 15 members. Well, we'll have, right now it's 13. And it has 2 jobs. One is to revise our Sustainability Action Plan and give advice to the city on where to move forward on that. But before we get back to that work, because the state of Washington passed a law requiring the city and the county to create a climate element in their comprehensive plan, that's our first job, is to be the advisory committee on the new comprehensive plan, which is due June of 2026. That's why it has to come first. We have a deadline to meet. The climate element is, our work on that is guided, advised by the Washington State of Commerce, Department of Commerce. That has put out a guidance that tells us what we need to include in that climate element. And as I mentioned, both the city and the county are under this same deadline of June 2026. And the climate element has to include a standard approach to a state standard approach to measuring our greenhouse gas reduction. To my mind, that's what we have to keep our eye on. That's keep your eye on the ball. Greenhouse gas reduction is the name of the game. It also requires an element for resilience, helping communities to get prepared for natural hazards. We're still working on which natural hazards we're most vulnerable to. We know that we have fires. We have smoke even when we don't have fires, you know. We have drought, which at first I don't think was understood enough as to what the impact of that would be. We have changing rain patterns, rain and snow. And so we get to the end of summer and the snowpack was used up a long time ago and things are really dry. Let's see, what was it? They also have a third element, third aspect of the work that they require, which is a focus on environmental justice as a priority. A lot of people have, for a long time, thought about climate change as kind of a technical thing. We have to fix this problem of greenhouse gases. But if we're trying not just to avoid a problem, but to create a better world. And in order to create a better world, if we allow the next society, community that we develop to continue the racial and economic injustices that we have today, we've blown it. We have to make sure that the land use doesn't worsen health disparities. Think about Interstate 90 and what it did to East Central community and the air pollution that that causes for the remaining community. So things like that. So there's some good plans, but plans are not enough. We have to take action. We have to do things, not just put it on paper, not just talk about it. Although talking about climate action is one of the things I love to do, and it is required for collective action. That's the way humans work with each other. We talk to each other and get things done. Legislation is words. It's a kind of talk. I mean, this is how we get it done. But we want action. In recent years in Spokane, we've had a huge increase in the installation of solar panels. I happen to know the statistics on that. I won't cite them to you today, but we were trying to encourage solar panel installation as part of the Sustainability Action Plan, and it's happening. We have a number of community gardens for producing more of our food in the area. If you don't have a yard where you can garden yourself, I had to move mine to the front yard to find some sun. Community gardens, very helpful. The Spokane Transit Authority has a number of electric buses now. You may have seen the news. Now we got double-decker electric buses. Those, but the Spokane, their city line is a major step forward in the way we should be doing transit in the city. And the next plan, big plan they have for that, it's not just the city line that has electric buses. You'll see them in various locations around town. But the next big focus target is going to be on Division Street. We also have a bike priority network, and more recently, a plan that the City Council just adopted on 27 by 27. 27 additional miles of safe bicycling paths by 2027. It's a good move. We also have a transit-oriented development pilot program going in the South Logan neighborhood. And the next one that they're working on, again, is Long Division. If you look at the city parks, instead of the parts that look kind of like the best part of a golf course, we have natural areas that the parks are adding to their landscapes. Less water use, more natural habitat. They're using hybrid mowers. They have reduced their pesticide use. They have automated watering systems now. It was so embarrassing when they told the rest of the city, do not water your lawns between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. And the parks were out there watering all day because the employees didn't want to work midnight. They want to work during the day. So now we've automated. We also have city watering rules and drought response. The 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Level 1, 4 days watering a week. When we reach level 2, it's because the indicator is the river has gotten so low that it's less than 1,000 cubic feet per second. And so then we need to go down to 2 days a week. We also have the Spokane Lawn Replacement Program, which helps us to reduce our water use, Spokanescape. You can get $500 to help put together your plan. It's going to cost more than that probably, but you can get some help, not only the money, but assistance from experts in the area to design it and put it together. And you might wonder, what's water use got to do with climate change other than it's giving us less water at the end of the summer? One of the major contributors to greenhouse gas emissions in the city of Spokane, other than the solid waste system, is moving water around. We pump it to all, so you can get it in your house. And that's a lot of greenhouse gas emissions that happen from that. We also have the urban tree canopy program that the city is doing with a lot of help from the Lands Council. We have eliminated parking requirements for all housing within 1/2 mile of a transit stop. We need to encourage people to develop a lifestyle that doesn't depend so much on cars. We also, as part of that, have increased density allowances in residential zoning code. You can have up to 6 units virtually all over the city. And Spokane Transit Authority started a youth-free ride in the summer. It's now year-round, so that young people can get accustomed to using the transit system rather than depending on an automobile. I should also mention, Brian would be unhappy with me if I didn't. Brian Henning runs the Gonzaga Climate Center. They have 3 major developments going there and lots of others that I can't get into, but they have a climate literacy project for K-12 educators and students. They have a climate resilience project, part of which was their heat mapping citizen science program here in Spokane a couple years ago. They sent people out in cars and we measured the temperature in the city. And one of the things we found out is that you can be in one place in the city, which is basically like concrete and a few trees, and another place in the city, most likely here on the South Hill, 13 degrees difference in the temperature. So they're working on resilience hubs at the Climate Center. And they have a $20 million community change grant to develop that is intended to include a lot of smaller nonprofit organizations in the community doing their own specific angle on this work. So I hope at this point you are asking, what can I do? You can support the climate action at the legislature and the city council. 350 Spokane has an email blast every other week now, every week at the second half of the legislative session, that will tell you what bills we think are important for you to support, and we'll make a link really easily available to you to tell the legislators how you think they should vote on this. 350 Washington, which 350 Spokane is part of, has one now that's doing that 2 days a week. They're a civic action team. So you can get advice as to what to tell your legislators twice a week from 350 Washington. You could join or contribute to climate action organizations. The Climate Center is hard to join, but boy, they like contributions. 350 Spokane is an all-volunteer organization. We don't like a lot of money. We focus on action. We don't need a lot of money. We're doing fine. If you want to contribute, we love it. We can always do more. But more important to us would be help us take action. Help us direct the legislature and the city as to what they should be doing. You can talk to your family, your friends, book clubs. You can write letters to the editor once a month. It's easy. They publish almost all of them. What can you do that's more private if you're not inclined to collective action? You can take personal climate action. You can electrify. You can get an electric vehicle. You can electrify your home in a couple of significant ways. Heat pumps do work in this area for your house, for heating your house. Reduces natural gas use. Natural gas is a major contributor to greenhouse gas pollution. 80 times the strength of carbon dioxide. So heat pumps for the house, or maybe your water heater. At least electrify your water heater. Yard equipment. It's easy. Don't get a new gasoline mower. Use either a battery or a corded one. I have an old corded one I've been using for years. You have to change how you mow the lawn so you don't run over the cord. But once you've made the adjustment, you're okay. You know? You can take multimodal transportation. You can, multimodal, fancy word. You can walk, bike, skateboard if you want to, roll. I only do that in better weather. I know some people who do it all year round, even here in Spokane. Electric bikes and big fat tires have made that possible. Still seems too cold to me, but go for it. You could also simply take the bus one day a week instead of driving your car. That makes a big, much bigger than you'd think, contribution. It's even better than reducing your beef consumption, which is a big one as well. So I want to thank you again for inviting me here today. As you might be able to tell, I love talking about climate action, even though it can be sometimes a difficult thing to think about, but we need to. Thank you.